Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, the Corvette is still on lift, and you guys might be kind of surprised at this week's video. Well, this week's video was kind of a failure of the previous week's video of us trying to reverse the coolant flow on the whole supercharger system. You guys will notice the tank is sitting out of the car. You'll notice a pile of coolant on the bottom, and you'll notice all of our lines have been disconnected. Well, that's due to a number of reasons. Last week, you guys saw us try to reverse the coolant flow of the supercharger system by changing up the hose locations on the box itself. We switched these two hoses, and we also switched the two hoses down on the pump. The way this tank is actually designed, you're supposed to pull coolant out of it and not try to push it to it. So basically, there's a giant air pocket that you're never going to try to bleed. You know, I tried for a couple hours. I actually primed the system. I added coolant in the radiator. I added coolant to the blower. But just the way this whole system was designed, it was never going to work. But I think we found a way to actually resolve that. And that's going to be involved with replacing a fitting, rerouting some of the hoses. So I actually have a diagram of how the system was designed from Edelbrock. We'll show that now. So starting from the tank, you guys can see that the system was designed to pull coolant out of the tank, into the pump, the outlet of the pump, into the heat exchanger, back into the supercharger, goes through the supercharger, through the bricks, and then back into the tank, the top side of the tank. So that's how the system was designed from Edelbrock. But we're actually reversing two of those lines, not really changing any of the lines from Edelbrock, just kind of rerouting one and adding a new line. And this should actually reverse the flow like we've been talking about. And I talked it over with a few people. This is the way we should have designed it the first time. So I've got another display. So starting at the tank, the bottom fitting, the coolant will go through that. Will go through the pump, the outlet of the pump, straight into the supercharger. It'll go through the supercharger, cool that heated air. It'll heat up at that point. It'll then go through the heat exchanger and go straight back into the tank. So basically the way the system is going to work is if we put ice in that tank, we will now be able to go and feed that directly into the supercharger with the proper flow. So we'll go tank, pump, supercharger, heat exchanger, tank. So by the time the coolant comes back into the tank, that will actually have already been cooled, and it'll be ambient air temperature, but it won't be the hot water coming straight off the supercharger into that tank. Alright guys, so got the straight fitting out like we showed a little bit earlier, but my other fitting just came in. What this is a -12 by 1/2 inch NPT, so that'll thread in right there. And this is actually a swivel, but you kind of need to, it's movable like this one, the one down here. So let's go ahead and get this installed, and to actually make sure that this seals, we're going to use some Loctite 565 thread sealant. And I believe this is what I used on the other piece, and it worked just fine. Use this for fuel, coolant, whatever. And basically this will make sure that nothing gets past the threads, coolant in this case, and so that there's no leaking. So we'll go ahead and get this all installed, and we can actually put the tank back in the car. Alright guys, that's about as tight as we're going to get that. Yeah, the thread's pretty much even. There's about 2 threads on the other one, 2 threads on this one. Now that we've got some of those changes to the coolant tank and some of the hoses, I need to take the front bumper back off. I know it kind of sucks going backwards, but I've already taken the hardware out. So all we should have to do is unsnap the clips here, under the hood, under the other headlight. And this side should just pull down as well. Yeah, see, there you go. So let's go ahead and get this taken off. Alright, so there you go. We got access to the pump, the lines, and all the stuff we're going to have to redo right here. Alright, so got the coolant tank back in place. It is secured down with the battery tied down. It's a 13mm bolt. We tighten that. We got the 90-degree swivel fitting right here. You guys can see that move or hear it. That actually will connect down to the radiator top, but we can't finish that today. We are missing a couple fittings, but what we can do today, if you guys see the orange and black hose coming up from the pump, we can actually do that section of hose today. So that is the HPS 90-degree hose that we got. That's coming out of the pump. That is going to connect here up into the supercharger inlet. And how we're going to do that is we're basically going to use another 90. I didn't get a swivel fitting this time because we don't really need it. And then we've got a push lock hose. These are both from Fragola. So that's a Fragola -1290. So it's male to male. So this will go here. We'll put the push lock fitting hose in. And for this particular coolant hose, we went with a different kind of hose. You will have actually seen it in other parts of the car, but let's go ahead and show you what we got. What I picked up was, this is a big box from Vibrant Performance. This is 20 feet of 0.75 or 3/4 inch hose, which is pretty much -12. So that's pretty much how that works out. And so basically what this is that reinforced silicone heater hose, and we got 20 feet of it. I actually priced out just getting 5 feet of this, and it was going to be like, I think it was like, for 5 feet, it was going to be like $30. I picked up 20 feet for like $80. So the cost per foot did not make sense at that 5 foot length. So I just went ahead and picked up the 20 feet. So let's go ahead and get this open. I don't want to cut it too deep. You don't want to cut your hose. Hopefully there's a piece of cardboard. Oh, there is. Okay. And yeah, so basically what it is, it's 20 feet of your 3/4 inch heater hose. All right, we have finished up the install of the first line that we were talking about earlier. As you can see, we have the line coming out of the supercharger. It's going into this 90, going into the Vibrant hose that we talked about. If you guys can see, it's coming through, and it's coming into the outlet of the EMP pump. So the part going that way, that is where that's coming out at. So that's going to be the first hose. The second hose, which like I said, I don't have all the parts yet. I've ordered them. It might take like a week, so we'll pick this up later. But it's the 90 coming out of the top of the radiator, coming out, and then this will feed into the top of the supercharger coolant tank, the reservoir. So since I already had the hose, the only thing I really needed to do was get a fitting for both ends. And this first piece is a -12 straight piece. This is from Fragola. And the second is actually another -12, but as you guys can see, we're going from the hose end fitting straight into a -12 male. So what this is going to do is allow us to skip having an adapter fitting going from male to male. You know, we're just eliminating another fitting. This was a little bit more money, but I still think in the end it would have been cheaper than a, you know, the regular -12 ending with a female part, having a male to male, you know, end piece, and then having a female part with another hose end on it. So I think we eliminated that by spending a little bit more money. This is from Vibrant, and this is going to be part number 24012. All right, guys, we have finally finished up this cooling project. You guys will see that we have our hose coming from the supercharger going down into the pump. We've got our new hose that we just created. So it's underneath it. It's the top feed for the coolant tank, and that is going down, join this little Vibrant joint here, and that's going into the heat exchanger. And I've actually already fired up the system, and it wasn't working properly until I did one thing, and that one thing was Took the tank out. There's a 13mm bolt holding the battery tray down. I actually took the tank and elevated it and put it on top of the fuse panel so that it was the highest point in the system. By elevating that tank, I started hearing all the lines going like gloop, 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 gloop. And basically what was happening was all of the air bubbles was getting out of the system. All right, so you can hear the pump running. That's down here. The pump's running just fine. There's no leaks. Our brake duct fits. Our horns fit. Everything's good to go down here. Then over here in the tank, I have it closed, but this might be pressurized a little bit. Here in the tank, you guys can see the coolant is moving. And actually, guys, I'm going to end up recycling the coolant that we used. Here's what I use. I use a filter. This is actually a paint filter. I've used it for fuel. I've used it for coolant. Catches all the gunk that lands in your coolant when it's under the car. I had that tub. I dumped that tub into this gray container into the filter, through the funnel, back into the bottle. And so we've basically saved a gallon and a half of coolant. And actually, I'm probably going to end up pouring the rest of that bottle into the tank. And so yeah, finally after like, I think it's been 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. No, it hasn't been 3. It's been at least 2 weeks of working on this project. You guys saw the previous video of us routing hoses. Well, this is the second video of us routing hoses and using a more proven method. So that's actually it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more updates on the Corvette, the tank, this cooling project, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that bell notification as well. That way you guys know when I upload new content. And if you guys want to help support the channel, I should have links to all the products that we used today, the fittings, the hose, the paint filters, because that actually worked really well, and maybe some other stuff. And also, make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.